Hello guys, in today's video we will show the importance of static defenses, but it varies greatly against players. Keep that in mind please. Against bots they will always try to attack you in almost like a direct line of sight, so they will run under your static defenses all the time and just sacrifice their army for nothing. Well, in the first match I will punish the opponent by not having any static defenses nor the uh, means to deal with any raiding party, because he will have manatoms which are terrible at dealing against anything that is raiding your base. And the second one is more interesting, you can skip there if you want to. As you can see now, we have two very strong defended points in the beginning of the match. One is your TC, of course, and the one is the second gold. And also there is a smaller wood line there. So that's what we are going to utilize to make some cows. If he doesn't attack also, you can just go on the outer resources and gather them until he tries to interrupt it. And then you can go back under your TC to gather your sheep, your gathered sheep, in a safe manner. As you can see, we are starting to add cow ranches slowly, and with our warrior scout we just deal a minor amount of damage. I'm gonna just speed up a lot of parts in this video because not much interesting is happening. And I think the opponent doesn't consider scouts an army, so that's why he's letting me kill them. But eventually, like one or two villagers for him doesn't really hurt because he's already getting much more resources than me. So as you can see, I still have quite a lot of time to kill the villager, because with a gilded man at arms he deals barely any damage that I'm just gonna heal up in some seconds anyway. As you can see, we already will have 4 ranches soon. I was contemplating of making a water, but it's whatever. I'm just making a circular pattern around his base to scout what he's doing, and I see the man-at-arms just chasing my scout. I have added some more workers on food so I can produce sofas. So that way, because he's starting to have a lot of man-at-arms, if that would attack my base, he would make my villagers go idle for a very long time. And as you can see, because I see that he's coming, I'm just going to go and change locations from the outer food sources to somewhere more chill. Obviously against a player, probably if they wanted to raid with some cavalry sieves, they would just make some knights, and it would be a much more difficult task to anticipate when they will arrive, which means that you should put towers on outer sources to be able to hide your villagers. So just put down an outpost with your mining camp, for example. Since I don't even know where he is going, I just basically went for his villagers again. Because even if he attacks, I will have time until he destroys the towers and whatever's for me to either get back or to deal more damage to his villagers anyway. So it doesn't matter if he was going for my base, because his villagers are still on very open area. But I see that he's going for castle. I will have enough resources to go castle myself as well soon. As you can see, he's just bleeding villagers everywhere, even though his army is chasing me. I'm just running away from his army, and that's it. He doesn't have an effective method to counter my army. And since I think he will follow this man-at-arms type of shenanigans, I will just make the Fulani Coral, because I'm not going to add much of a diversity of an army. I could add, as I said, Musafadis, with Farimba, for example, but he already has so many units. If he decides to attack now, I will have at best like 2 or 3 so far this. Here, this is some sort of a mistake that I'm adding these many towers because he only has men-at-arms and they receive almost zero damage from these towers. And that's why I have decided to send some guys on stone, but I think it's way too late for that. I wanted to add sprinkled emplacements to the towers just to deal a lot of damage to the men-at-arms before they destroy it, or maybe even add the HP if I have the time or the resources, but I think I'm very late to that. And I dislike it that I just aged up and I barely have any resources. I still need to wait for my upgrades to finish, so I'm not going to engage his army. I'm stepping down a second stables. So while I'm waiting to finish, I am just going to raid his base again. And he decides that it's a lovely opportunity for him as well to finally attack my base after 15 long minutes almost. And as you can see, their men-at-arms deal quite a lot of damage to my towers and none of them are just dying. So I'm just gonna make a run for it with every villager. My traders are going to die here because I wouldn't say forgot about them, but well, I forgot to reroute them to be more precise to the other market. Anyway, he's bleeding even more villagers, he's getting to a critically low amount where I'm just much better economy-wise. And I'm ordering my villagers to start gathering from sheep, which is a safe food source. I could just slap down 1 or 2 more towers to this gold and start mining gold as well, but it's whatever. I'm adding more stables because his army count is getting worrisome if he would attack my base. That is something that I could have done earlier here as well, because if you have a lot of resources, as you can see I do have, then these are just resources that are just standing in your bank that could have been like 10 sofas, 10 additional sofas that would just kill his army much more efficiently, but anyway. Regardless, I have a lot of safe places to hide my villagers at while they are killing each other. Because if he attacks and you have army, it means that he should focus on your army. Because if he just tries to kill 1 or 2 towers, you will just critically wound them in the meantime. But this way, he's also taking damage from your static defenses that I still haven't upgraded, I think, any of it. So they are just serving as a hiding area for my villagers. These guys are really taking a walk to get the lumber, so I'm just rerouting them to the south. And when I raided his base previously, I have seen that he was making lance nests, so I knew that I had to pay attention to that in the future. It's very good to check your opponent's army, even if it's little or whatever, to see what he has. And you can see that he had a Landsknecht, Spearman and Men-at-Arms as well, which means you, if you want, you can focus fire anything that is unarmored, and you can take care of the Men-at-Arms later. I am moving out to a new god, but I didn't add a keep nor a pit mine with houses, so that's a pretty big mistake. Anyway, I'm going to raid his base again for a bit. I'm pretty sure that he barely has any villagers now. I'm just mass producing sofas and put some farms in the corner of the map where it might be a bit more hard to reach. I'm producing some imams in order to heal my army up. There was a guy I seen that is holding a relic. Yeah, I think I messed up something, or maybe he grabbed the second relic, or I don't even know what happened there. Anyway, I'm healing my army up. I don't want to lose any units to anything I shouldn't lose to. And I think I will have a very big advantage now. Finally, I'm adding my keep here, and even though it consumes house space, I'm fine with not having an extra 8 gold per minute in order to hide my villagers faster. Another thing you can do is just let your static defenses handle a good amount of damage just and save them just before they burn down. Send your army there when the opponent cannot do too much damage to your main force. And now just unload the villagers from the outpost and repair it before it burns down or whatever. And I have too big of an army now for him to even try to defend against it. He didn't even have a keep, so I'm just gonna go to the next game so I don't waste your time. This is just an A move for his base and that's it, he dies. Because people like to tower rush Malians, you can also just after adding the first two houses, you can just add tower, which means that it will finish quite fast. Probably faster than before their first unit arrives. Which means that you will have a safe amount of houses next to your first gold mine. This matchup was really frustrating because Ottomans are just making army non-stop, and combined with the fact that they have extra resources and with the fact that I'm not raiding them in this match. Well, you can imagine how hard was it to beat them eventually. Because in my other tries, this is my 6th or 7th try to beat this matchup, they just sent an army after army and every of them had to have a different counter to kill it, so I was bleeding out non-stop. As you can see, if you check the time lapse, I'm not going to slow the match down in the first some minutes because nothing much is happening, as you can see. I'm just adding cows. Why? Well, I saw that he's not on 2TC as of yet so far. Not like I would do an extremely good job at scouting as well. Regardless, I saw that he was sending units to me non-stop, so I had to defend it. It doesn't mean that I have to have line of sight of his army, because if I have line of sight from my landmark from the Saharan trade network, that's enough for me. I see his army regardless of what is happening, right? So, as you can see, I have enough resources to go castle, and he just reached castle as well. So even though he was throwing at least 20 or 30 units at me, I lost count at some point, I'm still having a lot of resources to go to castle myself. And the reason I'm going for Rimbo is that I don't want to just go sofas or whatever, because as you saw before, he probably thought that I don't have an army that is very good at dealing with spearmen archers, and if I would go either archers only or sofas only, he would counter me pretty much. So I was wondering what is a type of army that can deal with his constant pressure, and this is strictly against AI because he's sending a wave after wave under your landmarks to die. So against AI, you have to think of something that kills everything rather efficiently. And what else could it be than catapults, because they deal siege damage, which means that everything that will be damaged by it will take full damage. and I needed a good front line, so I went with Forimba to have freeborn warriors. So I wanted to combine freeborn plus catapults in order to have a tank that cannot receive extra damage from anything, and have a backline DPS that deals a very good damage equally to everything. Also, I wanted to grab any remaining relics that were on the map, and I also wanted to put down stables, as you can see, to have a raiding party that can maybe trim his villager count. But the problem is that by the time I have arrived there with my horses, he just finished setting up his H4 landmark, which is a pretty bad thing to be one age down against your opponent. And even though I could catch up to him, I have decided not to go to H4 myself because I thought that I have a formidable army with all those sieges, and I wanted to close out the game, which turned out to be a pretty big mistake. Also, the reason I'm speeding up everything is that not much is happening, to be honest. Like, I'm just making army, but I'm just chilling at my base, and I'm also adding some markets. Here, this I would say is a deciding battle, but it turned out it wasn't at all. I thought I did well here because I kind of massacred his army, but if you want to march into his base, you either have to have some trebuchets to trap down his keep, mainly his H4 age upkeep, for example, Seagate Castle, or what you can do is send back everything you have except cavalry, and sending cavalry in multiple directions to kind of distract his economy until you have enough army to deal with it yourself. But that is pretty much impossible because he was keeping piling up resources for so long. Even if I would kill everything he has, he would probably have like 10k resources in the bank or 5k at least, which means that he can easily make an army that would counter mine, and then I would be back at square one. Here I was trying to get my whole army behind his base, but because of the Seagate Castle was kind of getting in the way, that's why I had to go around his whole base. As you can see, he keeps throwing some small armies at me, which is really frustrating because every time they deal damage, they just chip away a bit from your army's HP. So here I thought I can take him on, but it turned out that he caused me so much damage I had to retreat eventually. Even though my backup was arriving, I still needed to retreat because of, I think, mismanagement of micro. Regardless, I am still not going to Imperial. As you can see now, I am very far from it. And I have also set up trading, but I have built a wall, if you can see on the map. I have built a wall next to my TC almost, but I forgot to build a gate on it. So every of my traders is just walking around the wall, which is pretty bad. Anyway, as you can see, even if you advance just a bit, he has quite a numerous army, and they are very well upgraded. They have extra armor to ranged and melee as well. So it's a bit of a nuisance to deal with it. But that's why I have decided in the beginning even to roll with siege, because it deals siege damage. Then there is no extra armor or whatever that can stand in its way, basically. But of course my front line is finite. Even though that I have decided to make sofas as my front line, which is the best I can get per population space for my money. Still, it's hard to prove their worth because he just keeps throwing an endless amount of army against me. Especially with the great bombers, they just two-shot your catapult. It's really frustrating that 600 of your resources go down the drain just in like a matter of 10 seconds every time it decides to shoot twice. If the opponent would be a player, he would just mess knights, for example, because as we could see in the previous match as well, there is no way to prevent damage done if you have an army that is not effective at countering the opponent. So he would just avoid your cavalry and just jump on your siege in order to break it down. But since this is an AI, it has a different method of dealing with the situation. That's why there will be a big difference when I'm finally going to start playing against players and not against AI. But just to show you the basics, it's okay. Here I tried to go and harvest the deer. I didn't even think that he can reach me with the landmark keep. And also he raided my base but eventually decided to leave for whatever reason, I don't know why. Since he's harassing my villagers, I'm going to pull them back because I don't want to leave my siege wide open for his army to take. And I'm getting closer to the victory, let's say, conditions. But you can try for yourself this challenge. It's really hard to just turtle down against an AI that has a resource cheat against you. And yeah, this is much easier against a player, I would say so. It differs in a way that he will not attack in one place, he will try to poke you from a place where you are most vulnerable, but that's why you have to apply walls or towers or having, for example, some spearmen against his knights. So anything that slows down his process to try and kill you, and in the meantime you try to boom a bit. The point of turtling down is two things. First, to get a leading economic advantage, and second, to learn what his army is exactly without investing in your own army at first. For example, if you see that he's attacking with 15 knights or whatever, you can have some spearmen if it's adequate to defend your base, but in the meantime you spend much less resources in order to achieve the same type of defensive capability. So as long as he throws away some knights and you throw away only some spearmen, you could invest the remaining resources in getting an economical advantage. So that's where turtling power is really at. That's why in the beginning of the match 2TC is very strong because you barely have any ints to break it through it. So he can start having a lot of villagers in a pretty quick manner. And what will you do? Even if you kill 5, he will just replace them in 1.5 minutes. So it's really hard to get through static defenses. Alright, that was it for today. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Goodbye.